بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو على ما من به علينا من النعم الكثيرة الظاهرة والباطنة. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. Amma ba'd. By the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. All praise belongs to Allah, the one that has none that has the right to be worshipped except Him, who has bestowed upon us blessings that are numerous, blessings that are in abundance, those blessings that are outward and inward. And I bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is alone, without having any partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah, he is his servant and his messenger. To proceed, إخوان, فنرحب بكم جميعا إلى هذه السلسلة العلمية. So welcome each and every one of you to this series of classes, these knowledge-based classes, بحيث نتعلم من أقسام أحاديث النبي صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم. Whereas we're learning from the classifications or the types or the categories of the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. طيب, فما هو آخر نوع من أنواع أحاديث النبي صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم? What was the last type, last category, last classification of hadith that we learned? Riyad? The hadith al-muttafiq. فالمراد هنا يا إخوان ليس المتفق عليه. لا. The intent here of al-muttafiq, the hadith that's in agreement. The meaning here is not the al-muttafiqun alayh or muttafiqun alayh. The books that are the most authentic of ahadith or of al-kutub. هذا ليس المراد. That's not the intent here يا إخوان. فما معنى المفترق أو المتفق? What's the meaning here of المتفق? من يعلم? Who remembers?
هو أن تتفق أسماء الرواة وأسماء آبائهم وصاعدا خطا ولفظا وتختلف أشخاصهم. ما
شاء الله, أحسنت. So the متفق يا إخوان is the hadith or ليس عن الحديث أصلا. The متفق is not actually talking about a hadith. المقصود هنا عندنا اسم, وهذا الاسم يتفق في الخط ويتفق مثلا في الشكل, لكن يختلف في الذات. The hadith, or what we're learning, the متفق, is not actually talking about a hadith. It's talking about the names of the narrators, that you write the names the same. They have the same lettering, they look the same, they sound the same names. However, the person itself or themselves are different. The person themselves are different. مثلا هذا الشيخ اسمه محمد بن إدريس. هذا الاسم يوجد شيخان بهذا الاسم. This name محمد ibn Idris, the single name Muhammad ibn Idris, we write it again, Muhammad ibn Idris. Two same names. نفس الخط, you write them the same. نفس اللفظ, they sound the same. نفس الاسم, same name. لكن ذات هذين اسمين مختلف. ذات اسمين مختلفين. ذات هذين اسمين مختلف. But the essence, the entity of the ones that carry these two names, they are different. The first one is الشافعي, محمد ibn Idris. والثاني أبو حاتم الرازي. And the second one is Abu Hatim al-Razi. They have the same name. فتعلمنا بعض الأسماء الأخرى. We also learned some different names as examples that you find in the science of hadith, in the history of Islam. نفس الاسم والذات مختلف. When the scholar has the same name, but there are 2 or 3 or 4 different people. Who has another example? Sheikh Amar.
Khalil ibn Ahmed.
أحسنت. هذا الاسم خليل ابن أحمد كم من تاريخ الإسلامي؟ 4 أو 6. How many have this name? 4 in Islamic history, or 6? 6 individuals من علماء الحديث نفس الاسم أحمد أو خليل ابن أحمد. خليل ابن أحمد. This name Khalil ibn Ahmad, ماذا? There are 6 individuals in history to know. Oh, they have this name. لماذا هذا العلم مهم? Why is having knowledge of this important?
Zero confused narrators.
أحسنت. حتى لا يختلط الطالب أو الشيخ أو الباحث ماذا؟ أسماء الرواة. أسماء الرواة. So that the student or the scholar or the researcher or the reader does not confuse, does not mix up narrators. فهذا مهم. وكل هذا من علم الرجال. And all of this is found in the science of علم الرجال. مصطلح الحديث باب وتحت هذا أبواب. The science here, the science of hadith, has many categories. Many categories. From this category of the science of hadith is a chapter called علم الرجال. The science of who's who in the chain. Who is who. فهذا المتفق والمفترق, those names that are the same, that differ from person to person, this is under that category. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. And Allah ta'ala knows best. درسنا الليلة مثل الذي سبق. مثل الذي سبق. Tonight's class is similar to what we have already learned regarding the names. Regarding the names. فعنوان الليلة كذلك يندرج تحت علم الرجال. Tonight's class is also under the title of the knowledge of who is who in the chains of narration. طيب أنا أقوله وأنتم تقولونه بعدي. أنتم تقولونه بعدي. I'll say it, you say it. I'll say it, you say it. قال الإمام البيقوني رحمه الله تعالى.
قال الإمام البيقوني رحمه الله تعالى.
مؤتلف متفق.
مؤتلف متفق.
مؤتلف متفق الخط فقط.
مؤتلف متفق الخط فقط.
وضده مختلف فخش الغلط.
فخش الغلط.
مؤتلف متفق الخط فقط.
مؤتلف متفق الخط فقط.
وضده مختلف فخش الغلط.
وضده مختلف فخش الغلط.
أحسنت. فقال الإمام البيقوني هنا رحمه الله. So the Imam al-Bayquni, may Allah have mercy upon him, he mentions مؤتلف متفق الخط فقط. مؤتلف, that which is in harmonization, agreement, is those names that في الخط, when you write them out, they are in harmonization, they agree. فقط, only في الخط, only when you write them. وضده مختلف فخش الغلط. And the opposite of them, these type of names, when you write them, they're different. فخش الغلط. So beware of this mistake. Beware of this mistake, or of the mistake. هذا الباب مثل الباب الذي سبق. This chapter tonight is just like the previous chapter. طيب اكتبوا هاتين كلمتين. Write down these 2 words. ماسي.
I have a question.
تفضل.
If they have like the same name, how do you know which one is the exact person?
If they have the same name, مثلا علينا أن نبحث عن الأب والأم والجدة والبلد. If they have the same name, you're not done your research. Now, what's the name of their father? Same name. What's the name of the grandfather? Same name. What's the name of the great-grandfather? Say, oh, that's the same. What country are they from? What tribe are they from? مثلا هذا عمر هذا عمر. This one is Umar, this one is Umar. طيب ما اسم أبيهما? What's the name of their grandfather? What's the name of their great-grandfather? What's the name of their father? So you don't stop at the name. مثلا محمد بن إسماعيل. إذا أقول محمد بن إسماعيل هذا من? If I just say to you Muhammad ibn Ismail, who is that?
Can be Shafi'i or
Abu Hatim al-Razi.
Close. صحيح. Bukhari.
Bukhari or As-San'ani.
أحسنت. Bukhari or San'ani. طيب نفس الاسم. محمد. ما اسم أبيه؟ إسماعيل. طيب هذا البخاري وهذا الصنعاني. طيب ما اسم جده؟ هذا محمد إسماعيل بن إبراهيم، محمد بن إسماعيل ابن إبراهيم بخاري. وهذا الصنعاني محمد بن إسماعيل ابن وزير. طيب, so they have the same name, same father's name, but they differ on the grandfather's name. You hear Muhammad ibn Ismail, automatically you're going to say Bukhari, Bukhari, Bukhari. لكن يوجد شيخ آخر بنفس الاسم وهو صنعاني، الإمام الكبير في اليمن، لعله أشهر إمام في اليمن مطلقا، إما هو أو الشوكاني رحمه الله تعالى. As-San'ani perhaps is the biggest scholar to this day that Yemen has ever witnessed. Or, if not him, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Shawkani. The scholars differ. Some say the greatest scholar the country of Yemen has ever seen is San'ani, rahimahullah. Some say no, Shawkani was a little bigger. They differ on who's the greatest scholar ever. At any rate, As-San'ani lahu nafsul ism li-ism al-Bukhari. This San'ani, the great Imam of Yemen, ماذا? His name is the same name as Al-Bukhari. Same name as Al-Bukhari. طيب, اكتبوا هاتين كلمتين. Write down these two words يا إخوان. المؤتلف المؤتلف المؤتلف. وثانية, second word, المختلف المختلف. الأولى, first word, المؤتلف المؤتلف. الثانية, second word, بالخاء خاء خاء المختلف المختلف. المؤتلف أي المتفق. The word مؤتلف means المتفق, that which agrees, that which is in agreement, harmonization, conformity. والثانية المختلف أي الذي يختلف. المختلف is the one that differs. So this chapter tonight is harmonization or agreement and differing, just like the chapter that came before. طيب, لكن المقصود مختلف. But the intent of both chapters are different. طيب, من يشرح? Who can explain? The last chapter we did المتفق والمفترق. مثل المؤتلف المختلف. Same meanings, but the intent is different. Last chapter we did, give an example.
In what?
The meaning. متفق والمفترق.
The first part you learned, like it was in terms of the narrators.
What do they agree on?
The names.
The actual names.
Yeah.
The how to write it, the sound of it, the name is the same. What do they differ on?
The people.
Yeah, the person itself. Nafsul ism. They agree on the name. هذا شيخ عبد الوهاب. طيب, هذا شيخ عبد الوهاب. نفس الاسم. نفس اسم. Same name. هذا شعيب. هذا شعيب. Same meaning. لكن يختلفوا في ماذا؟ ويختلفان في ماذا؟ في الذات. في الذات. Same name. They agree on the name. They differ in themselves. They themselves are different. This is Shuaib, that's Shuaib. Same name, different entities, different people. هنا مثله. Here is similar. طيب, المؤتلف في الخط فقط. الاختلاف في ماذا؟ في النطق, في اللفظ. So here, they agree on something, they differ on something. First chapter, they agree on the name, same name, they differ in the person. Here, they agree in the lettering, the writing of the word. They differ in how do you pronounce it. It looks the same. Masi, طيب, mim, ya, sin, ya. And then you have mim, ya, sin, ya. لكن هنا ماسي, هنا ميسي. Same name when you write it. They differ in how to pronounce it. طيب. قال المؤتلف والمختلف. That which is in agreement and that which differs. هو متفق صورته في الخط. This one we're going to write, it is that which agrees in shape. متفق صورته في الخط. It is that which agrees, it's in harmonization, they look alike when you write it. The shape of the word, they're identical. Or not identical, but close. Because sometimes it can be close. They're either identical or they're close. في الخط, when you write it out. Mim, ha, mim, dal. Mim, ha, mim, dal. Same, they look exactly the same. Muhammad, 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 Muhammad. So they agree, they look alike when you write them out. في الخط, when you write them. But they differ في النطق, في اللفظ. But they differ when you pronounce it. When you express and you utter, your pronounce is different. تفضل.
Repeat the definition now.
هو ما اتفق صورته ما اتفق صورته في الخط ما اتفق صورته في الخط. It is that which the shape of the word or the shape of the names, they agree. Same shape. The shapes look identical or they're close. Because in most examples, they're not identical, but they're close. Right? Ayash, Abbas. That falls under this chapter. Right? So, تتفق صورته بالخط. The shape of the word is identical or close. في الخط, when you write it. ويختلف في النطق. ويختلف في النطق. But they differ in pronunciation. Salam, Salam. Ayash, Abbas. They're close. They're close. طيب. قال هنا فائدة, a benefit. قال البيقوني فخشى الغلط. البيقوني, he says, showing the importance of this chapter. He says, وضده مختلف فخشى الغلط. And the opposite of it is they differ when you pronounce it. فخشى الغلط. So beware of this mistake. Then هذا كثير. This happens a lot. This happens a lot. قال هنا أي يعني احذر يا طالب العلم الوقوع في الغلط بسبب تقرب الكلمة في الرسم. He says, meaning البيقوني is telling the student of knowledge, the student of hadith, beware, be careful, oh you student of knowledge, from falling into this mistake by way of the closeness of how the words are written. How the names of the narrators, they are close a lot of times. Muhammad, Mahmud. That one is not as close. Salam, Salam. That's a good one. Abbas, Ayyash. That's another good one. طيب. قالوا أكثر ما في هذا الباب ليس له ضابط يرجع إليه. طيب. A tremendous point for the student of hadith. He says most of the examples in this chapter, they don't have a principle to be referred back to. Most examples here, Ayyash, Abbas, there's not a principle to memorize. It's not a principle here. He says most examples in this chapter, ليس له ضابط يرجع إليه. They don't have a principle. Sometimes you just got to memorize it. There's no ruling to refer back to. There's no ruling. Right? And sometimes it is. But most instances here, there's no principle to go back to. The name is just close to his name. There's no principle here. It's just Ayyash, نغير الياء بالباء, and then Abbas. ما عندنا ضابط. So the name Ayyash, if you write Ayyash, for example, how the Arabs used to write it, the ya, you're not going to write two dots. You're going to write Ayn, the little namira, Alif, Sheen. Then I say write Abbas, how the Salaf used to write it. You're going to write Ayn, namira, Alif, ya, Sheen. or a Sin, Abbas. No. Here you're going to write the Sheen, بدون ثلاثة نقط, without no dots. And on Abbas, you're going to write Ain, Namira, Alif, Sin. هذا طيب أريد هذا منكم. Someone write this now, يا إخوان. Write Abbas, not how we write it today. Back in the day, you're not going to write no dots, no nuqat. You're going to write Ain, Namira, that little hump, that little Namira, Alif. On Ayash, your Sheen is not going to have 3 dots. So you're going to write a Sin, no dots. Now beside it, write it the same way again. Ain, Namira, Alif, Sin. Here, في الأولى هذا ليس بسين, هذا شين. And the first word, that's not a sin, that's a sheen. Right? And the second word, هذا ليس بشين, هذا سين. And the second word, that's not a sheen, that's a sin. والأولى هذا ليس ببا, هذا الياء. And the first word, that's not a ba, that's a ya. And the second word, al-aqs. هذا ليس بيا, هذا البا. And the second word, that's not a ya, that's a ba. So they look identical. That's why this is important. Back in the day, there were no nuqat. There were no dots. So that's why this is so important to learn who is who. But there's no principle here. What principle can you learn? No. علينا نحفظ هذا عياش وهذا عباس. You just have to memorize it. This is Ayash, this is Abbas. You have to learn the lineage. Who was his father? Who was his grandfather? What country is he from? That's why Hadith is so impeccable and so important. يعتمد على الحفظ والصدق والنية وحسن الإخلاص وحسن الإخلاص. Hadith, it depends on memorization and upon truthfulness and having a correct intention. A correct intention. طيب تفضل يا شيخ.
So how do people used to read if they don't include the dots?
عند العرب كان معروف عندهم من اللغة يعلمون متى هذا العياش ويعلمون متى عباس لأنهم يعلمون اللغة. هذا لغته. To the Arab, this was easy. They knew who is who. They would know, no, this is not Abbas here. It looks identical. But to the Arab, the original Arab, they would know, no, this is not a ya. How do you know? I just know. It's in the language. As he says, there's no principle. That's why this is kind of difficult at the same time. It humbles you, but there's no principle. It's not like in Arabic. مثلا نقول دخل محمد المسجد. We say Muhammad came into the masjid. Masjid is fatha. There's a principle that we learn تعلمنا أن المسجد منصوب. There's a principle in Arabic that teaches us why there's a fatha here. It's not like that in this science here, right now, in this chapter. So it's not a principle in most names. There's nothing to memorize as far as a principle. You just got to learn who's who's the father, who's the mother, who's the sheikh, who's the students, what country are they in. If you hear مثلا Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Sana'ani, that's Yemen. If you hear Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari, that's Bukhara. So sometimes you got to go that extent. What country are they in? What time period are they in? But then sometimes the same name can be at the same time period. Like Khalil ibn Ahmed. هذا في نفس العصر. هذه الستة الأشخاص في نفس العصر. وهذا صعب. The last example we learned with the name Khalil ibn Ahmed, there were 6 people that had that name. They lived in the same time period. That's hard. So you got to memorize who's his sheikh, who's his sheikh, for example. That's why Hadith, I tell you brothers, you guys go study, you go to Medina, you go to Azhar, you go to the lights, you sit with a sheikh. أنا أنصحكم بالدراسة عند العلماء الحديث أولا وفي كلية الحديث. Many of you go to Medina, you go to Qura, you go to Azhar, the lights, any of those prestigious universities. You study with a scholar. I say, study with a hadith scholar. Go to the science or the college of hadith. لماذا؟ الحديث يشمل كل علم. Because hadith includes every science. الذي يدرس حديث يدرس العقيدة. والذي يدرس حديث يدرس الفقه. والذي يدرس الحديث يدرس اللغة. والذي يدرس الحديث يدرس ماذا؟ السيرة. الذي يدرس الحديث يدرس تفسير الحديث يشمل كل علم من علوم الإسلام. The one who studies hadith, he's going to study every science. He's going to study aqidah. From hadith, he's going to study fiqh. From hadith, he's going to study seerah. From hadith, he's going to study tawheed. From hadith, he's going to study tafseer. From hadith, but not every science is like that. يقول الشافعي رحمه الله, الشافعي used to say, كل علوم سوى القرآن مشغلة إلا الحديث والفقه في الدين. العلم ما كان فيه قال حدثنا وما سوى ذلك وسواس الشياطين. أو كما قال الشافعي رحمه الله. الشافعي used to say, every العلم, he was saying that every science has that which preoccupies you, except for the Quran. He says, and except for hadith, and except for having fiqh in the religion. Knowledge is that thing that you say, hadathana, he narrated to me, or he narrated to us. And everything besides that, waswasu shayatini, are just whispers of shaitan. If it's not Quran, and it's not hadith, and it's not fiqh, هذا وسواس شياطين. هذا من الشافعي. الشافعي is saying here, if you're not studying hadith, you're not studying Quran, and you're not studying the fiqh, then whatever you're doing now are just whispers of a shaitan. فهذا الحديث أو هذا القول ماذا يدل على أهمية العلم القرآن وعلم الحديث وعلم الفقه. This statement here is pointing to us in the direction that ماذا, the importance of studying Quran, revising Quran, teaching Quran, listening to Quran, learning the Quran, understanding Quran, also in hadith, also in al-fiqh. ونضيف لهذا القول, we can add to this speech كذلك, كل علم نحتاج إليه تحت علم القرآن وتحت علم الحديث وتحت علم الفقه. We can also add to that the Quran, the hadith, and the al-fiqh. In every science that you need to study them. There's a science, there are two sciences that you're in need of to study Al-Quran. There are two sciences you're in need of to study Al-Fiqh. There are two sciences you're in need of to study Hadith. So although he didn't mention them, this is also embedded. مثلا الذي يريد أن يدرس القرآن لا بد أن يدرس اللغة العربية. لا بد. Someone wants to study Quran. He's never going to study Quran completely without studying the Arabic language. It's impossible. ولو يكون متمكنا في لغة إنجليزية أو صومالية أو إسبانية أو أي لغة ما لابد أن يدرس العربية لأن القرآن أنزل بالعربية. No matter how proficient he is in English or Somalia or Spanish or any other language, it doesn't matter. He still has to learn Arabic. Why? Because the Quran came down in Arabic. فإذا العبد يدرس القرآن بالإنجليزية يمكن يستفيد يمكن لكن فائدته تكون ناقصة جدا. A person can learn Quran in any other language. It's possible. He can memorize all praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds, the most merciful, the most compassionate, the owner of the day of resurrection. You alone, O Allah, we worship, and you alone, O Allah, we ask for help. To the end of Al-Fatiha. He can benefit like that, no problem. But I guarantee his benefit is going to be small. It's not going to be a lot of benefit. If it is some benefit, it's going to be naqas. It's going to be deficient. لابد أن يدرس العربية. He has to study Arabic. لأن القرآن أنزل بالعربية. Because the Quran came down in Arabic. كذلك الحديث. Likewise hadith. لأن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام كان يتكلم بالعربية. Because the Prophet of Allah only spoke Arabic. فإذا العبد يدرس الحديث مثلا يمكنه أن يقول, the person studying hadith, perhaps he can say, on the authority of our mother Aisha, may the peace of Allah be upon her, that the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, or the Messenger, may the peace and salutation of Allah be upon him, that he said, whoever introduces something in this affair of ours that is not from it, it will be rejected. Collected by Bukhari and Muslim. هذا نفع, that's a benefit, لكنه قليل, but the benefit is going to be light, it's going to be small. أولا هذا كذب على النبي, هذا الأول. Although you can benefit like that, first thing he did wrong was what? he just lied on the Prophet of Allah. So you can learn hadith in English, but you can't say the Prophet said. You have to say ترجمة, it's been translated, أو قيل في اللغة العربية أو في لغة إنجليزية أو هذا المعنى الحديث. You have to say this is the translation, this is the rendering into English, this is the meaning of it. You have to say that. You can't say the Messenger of Allah said, whoever. Ya akhi, هذا كذب. That's a lie. What do you mean that's a lie? The Prophet never said that. The Prophet never said that. What do you mean never said that? That's in Bukhari. That's nowhere in Bukhari. It's in Bukhari, ya akhi. Show me it's in Bukhari. He brings Bukhari. هو أتى ببخاري وأريك الترجمة. He gives you the translation. He said, لا, هذا ترجمة البخاري. That's the translation of Bukhari. هذا Bukhari. This is Bukhari's words here. The translation of the Quran is not the Quran. Translation of the Quran is not the Quran. That's the noble translation. That's what it says on the book. The noble Quran. That's not from Allah. The noble Quran, the copy, the translation of the Shaykh, and then he brings the author. That's not Quran, ya akhwan. That's a copy. That's a translation. The Mus'haf, that's the Quran. The Arabic, that's the Quran. So the person says, Allah says in the Quran, say, O Muhammad, that He, Allah, is one, the one that all creation depend upon. He does not beget, nor is He begotten, and there's nothing like Him, or there's nothing similar, or equal, or comparable to Him. Yahi, what surah is that? That's Surah Al-Ikhlas. Where? Arini, show me. He gives you the Quran. Right here, Yahi. What Quran is that? That's the translation of the Quran. That's not the Quran. The translation, yeah. Sometimes people get offended when you say that. No, the truth has more right to be followed. We're not telling no one not to look at translations. We're not saying that. We didn't learn that, ya ikhwan. الذي يحتاج أن ينظر إلى ترجمة لا بأس ليس مشكلة. The one that has to look from time to time at a translation to help him, that's okay. But it's a farq بين أن ينقل عن الله وعن النبي وأن ينقل عن الترجمة. But there's a difference, ya ikhwan, and I want you to understand, between narrating from Allah and the Prophet of Allah and narrating from the translation. Two different components. طيب نمشي يا ikhwan, let's continue. قال مثال هذا, an example of this, salam and salam. إذا نكتب, if we write sin, lam, alif, mim, marratain. If we write this name down twice, sin, lam, alif, mim. Salam, في الأولى, the first one is salam. I want you to write sin, lam, alif, mim twice. On the second word, you're going to put a shadda on the lam. So now we have salam and salam. Salam, salam. No. طيب. عندنا ثالثة, a third word. Write this word, ya ikhwan. Ain, mim, alif, ra, تا مربوطة عفوا. عين ميم ألف را تا مربوطة. On the first one you're going to write مضموم العين. Your brother studying Arabic. مضموم العين. مضموم العين. Put a dhamma over the ain in the first name. عو. The second name, مكسور العين. مكسور العين. The ain has a kasra on the second name. First one, عمارة. Second name, عمارة. عمارة, عمارة. Two different names. نفس الشكل, نفس الصورة, same shape, same surah, same khat. When you write it, identical. And this name here, Umara, most of the narrators, their name was Umara bid-Dhamma. إلا شخص واحد هو عمارة. But there was one narrator, his name was Imara, with a kasra, Imara. And his name is Ubay. His son's name is Ubay. No. One more word, inshallah, then we'll continue, ya ikhwan. This chapter is going to be easy. We may can do 2 chapters tonight. فوصلنا إلى آخر هذا الكتاب يا إخوان. We're at the end of the book actually. يمكن 3. عندنا منكر وعندنا متروك وعندنا الموضوع. We only have 3 classic categories left. 3 categories left يا إخوان. فعندنا بعد هذا المنكر. Our next class is on the munkar. And then we have موضوع. And then we have matruk. موضوع is the hadith that's a blatant lie, it's a fabrication. And the matruk is the narrative that is left. نسمع أو نرى اسمه نترك حديثه مباشرة. The hadith that's matruk, you come across him, his hadith, you don't even write it down. His hadith is just weak. He's matruk, he's just abandoned. He just left. He's a fabricator. طيب. And the next one after that is munkar. Munkar is easy. That's 3 more categories here, and we're done. طيب. So we're gonna, inshallah, we making do munkar, or the beginning of munkar. How much time we have here, ikhwan? Our hour's almost up. 45. طيب, let's see, ikhwan.
تريد مختلف.
Huh?
تريد مختلف.
مختلف, we did it. The mukhtalif, they kind of together. The mukhtalif just means they differ in the pronunciation. So these 2 go together. The mukhtalif and mukhtalif, they go hand in hand. The mukhtalif, they agree in the lettering when you write them out. The mukhtalif is that they differ when you pronounce them. That's why we had you write Abbas Ayyash. When you write them, that's the mukhtalif. They look at them to call. When you pronounce them, that's the mukhtalif. They differ in al-lafz. They differ in al-lafz and pronunciation. So the mukhtalif and the mukhtalif go together. Wa alayka salam ya shaykh. Fadhi ya Umar.
مختلف is the one that's different in pronunciation.
Uh-huh.
And مختلف is the one that's different.
Close.
The مختلف is the one that's different. I don't know مختلف.
Write them together. Mukhtalif and mukhtalif. They go together. Just like last class. Muttafiq and muftariq. So these terms, you're always going to use them together. The mukhtalif is going to go with mukhtalif. The Muslim is going to go with the wudu.
مختلف looks different.
Yeah, right? So they go together. Mukhtalif and mukhtalif. They're always going to come like that. If we decide to continue on Tuesdays in the science of hadith, every book you learn is going to come like that. Mukhtalif, mukhtalif. Always.
ما اتفق صورته
في الخط.
ناس مختلف.
طيب. The one that, if you say for example, suratuhu is going to be mukhtalif, mukhtalif. In the surah.
مختلف.
مختلف. The word mukhtalif, a new Arabic word there, ikhwan. These sciences, you pay attention, we're learning Arabic at the same time. If you really pay attention. Like we're learning Quran. Not the person just memorizing how to say it. He goes to the next lesson, Alhamd means. Ar-Rabb means. It's one thing to learn the tajweed and how to recite it. That's the first level. The next level, ya ikhwan, ma'rifatu al-maqsood. Learning the intent of the words. That's the next level. So here, we have 4 words. If we count last class. Tonight, mu'talifun. From the verb ittalafa. Ittalafa means to agree. To be in a conformity with. Omar says something, I say, Man ya'talifu ma'a. Who agrees with them? Man ya'talifu ma'a. Who's in harmony with him?
مختلف, the writing is same.
Hey, here in hadith, the mu'talif is the ya'talifu fil khatt. Laysa fil al-nutq. The i'talaf, what do they agree on here in writing? You say, our shaykha, you write za, ya, nun, ba. And one, sin, lam, alif, mim. Sin, lam, alif, mim. And then write it twice. Sin, lam, alif, mim. Now, nadabituhu. Now let's put the vowels. On the first word you're going to write sin, maftuha. Second word, lam, maftuha. And then the mim, dhamma tanween. Salam. Second word, you're going to write Sin maftuha, Lam mushaddada, wal-fatha. Second letter, or second word, put a fatha over the Sin, a shadda over the Lam. So now you have Salam. So when you wrote them, they were identical. Sin, Alif, Mim. When you pronounce them, one is Salam, one is Salam. Two different people. So in the Mu'talif, Al-Mukhtalif. The Mu'talif, they agree when you write them out. Mukhtalif, they differ when you pronounce them.
How about Umar and Amr?
Amr. I think so, write it down.
Amr has a wow.
But the wow. Also remember, ya ikhwan, they're not all going to be identical. If you remember when we translated it, we said identical or close. Because ittafaqa or mu'talifa doesn't actually mean identical. Also in the science, some of the examples are not identical. Ayyash and Abbas are not actually identical. If you don't write without the vowels, if you don't write without the nuqat, if you add the nuqat, they're not identical. Also, Amr and Umar, that might can fall. The only difference is the vowel. Write Umar, Ain, Mim, Ra. Now write Amr, Ain, Mim, Ra, wow. Hey, that will fall under it also. The only difference is the vowel.
Umar.
Some people, and Amr.
Umar doesn't have no vowel.
No, on Amr. If you write Amr out, I believe it comes with a vowel at the end. Amr.
And the vowel is only there for the differentiation.
Hey, to show the difference. The vowel is not there. That's added, for example. There are many examples like that, ya ikhwan. See the shaykh word, another one, ya ikhwan. Like this one here is similar. Write our last example, ya ikhwan. You're gonna write ha. Don't write the nuqat. Don't write the dots. Don't write the dots. Ha, alif. Za, mim. Ha, alif, za, mim. So on the za, that's a good question, Ikhwan. Originally, did the za have a dot or no? The za didn't have a dot in the beginning also. No dot. Don't write the nuqta on the za. Ha, kha, za, which is really going to be a ra, mim. Second word I want you to write, kha. No dots. Kha, alif, za, mim. They look identical. The ha is going to look like the kha. The ra is going to look like the za. To the Arab, they knew which one. Allah a'lam kayf ya'lamun. Only Allah knows how do they know. As the Shaykh says, كل أكثر في هذا الباب ليس له ضابط وهذا صحيح. In most examples here, there's not a principle to memorize, to go back to. It's just they knew their language and they knew the men. So they knew their first name would be Hazim. The Arabs knew that. That first one, that's a za, not a ra. On the second name, they knew that was Khazim. That's a kha, not a ha. How do they know? Allahu A'lam. Sometimes my daughter in grammar, you say, what does the akhir hadhihi kalima? What's the ending of this word? She says, a kasra. How do you know? I say, I don't know how I know. I just know in the Arabic language this should be a kasra. But she doesn't know the principle why. But sometimes in reading, especially in Quran, if you really pay attention in grammar, you will know. No, here, that should be a dhamma. Why is it a dhamma? I don't know. Sometimes you have brothers who are real strong in Quran, and real strong in Arabic. A surah that they don't have memorized, or they're not mutamakkin in it, if the reciter makes a mistake grammatically, they can correct him. Because they know the principles in the Arabic language. But somebody makes a mistake grammatically, for example, he says, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعُونَ. That should be ayah. نَسْتَعِينُ. And the person doesn't have that surah, he say nasta'in. How do you know? He says, because this here is the plural. The jam' mu'annaf is salim. It should be nasta'in, not nasta'un. So sometimes you can find, there was a brother like that years ago. He didn't memorize much Quran, but in grammar, mashallah, he was the man in grammar. In speech, he didn't talk much. But if people were around him, and they make a mistake grammatically, he was the first brother should have said it with a dhamma. Tell him, ya akhi. But he was so shy, mashallah. But in grammar, He was the man. When I first met him, I said, hey, if I make a grammatical mistake, I'm giving you permission to tell me. Don't be so shy. Real nice brother. And he could fight, but he just was shy. You would think he was soft until you try to cross him.
How do you know?
He would jack you up. I saw him fight, so I know who not to fight. He's ready. It was always my fault, yeah. Whatever I did, you're skilled, yeah. I'm not fighting you, yeah. He looks, mashallah, but he can fight. But real humble brother, mashallah. And that's what knowledge should do, ya akhwan. Knowledge لا يجعل صاحبه أبدا متكبرا. أعوذ بالله. Knowledge will never make a person arrogant. Never, ya akhwan. Knowledge يجعل صاحبه متواضعا. Knowledge makes the person humble. إذا عندنا علم ونظن لأن عندنا هذا العلم أننا وصلنا إلى درجة، لا، هذا تكبر. هذا ليس تواضع. If you have any knowledge and we think because we learned something that we're better than someone because of the knowledge, then this is not humbleness. This is arrogance. Knowledge doesn't make you feel you're better than anyone. That's not knowledge. That's arrogance. True knowledge لا يجعل صاحبه أبدا يظن أنه متكبر أو أنه أفضل من شخص آخر أبدا. True knowledge is never going to make the person think that they're better than someone. If you have any knowledge and you think you're better than someone because you have the knowledge, in reality you don't have the knowledge. Knowledge never makes you feel like that, ever. Knowledge makes you lower your wings. لأنك أمام الله, because you're in front of Allah. Al-Alim, the all-knower. طيب, let's continue, يا إخوان. طيب, من لا يفهم, who doesn't understand, يا إخوان? المؤتلف والمختلف. من يشرح, who can explain? المؤتلف والمختلف. تفضل.
Same letter and writing with different sound.
MashaAllah. You're writing the same name out. When you write it, same lettering, same way you write it. The mukhtalif, the difference is when you pronounce it. Here, that's Umar. On the first one is Imar. On the first one, Salam. The second one, Salam. The first one, Hazim. Second one, Khazim. They differ. طيب. وما معنى ماذا المتفق والمفترق. هذا الذي سبق. That was last class. Was متفق and مختلف.
The names of the narrators agree. And
What do they differ on?
people are different.
Ahsant. Same concepts. If you wish, you can say muttafiq, muftariq for both, if you wish. But the scholars use different terms to show this chapter is for the names that look alike when you write them out, but they differ when you pronounce them. That's called mu'talif al-mukhtalif. The first one that we learned, ماذا متفق والمفترق. They agree in what? They agree in everything. The same identical name. How you write it, laftan wa khattan. How you pronounce it and how you write it. What do they differ on? They're different people. That's muttafiqun, muftariqun. Tonight's class, mu'talifun, mukhtalifun. They agree on what? They agree when you write it. Only when you write it. When they're pronounced, they're not pronounced the same. طيب, let's do one more, ya ikhwan. We'll be done in 5 minutes, inshallah ta'ala. We'll just give the summary. بإذن الله تعالى. طيب, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال البيقوني رحمه الله تعالى. I lost my spot. طيب, Imam al-Bayquni, he continues. Al-Hadith al-Munkar. Next chapter. Al-Hadith al-Munkar. قال والمنكر طيب. المنكر الفرد به راو غدا تعديله لا يحمله تفردا. He says, the munkar is the hadith that there are one or two possibilities. العلماء يختلفون. The scholars, they differ. إما جاء عن راو واحد مطلقا. Either it only has one narrator. تعلمنا هذا قبل. We learned that before. Who knows? Hadith that has one narrator. Ahad, also gharib. So the munkar can have the same meaning as gharib or ahad. That's the first possibility. أي حديث من راو واحد. Any hadith that has one narrator, you can call it munkar.
Or fard.
Huh?
Or fard.
Or fard, ahsant. So now we have 4. The hadith that has one narrator, you can say munkar. Hadith that has one narrator, fard. Hadith has one narrator, gharib. Hadith has one narrator, ahad. Right, that's one possibility of munkar. والثاني, second possibility of munkar, هو انفراد الراوي يخالف ثقة وهذا الراوي ضعيف مختلف من الشاذ. Now this one is slightly tricky. We learned شاذ قبل. What is شاذ?
Two different narrators oppose each other.
Two different narrators oppose each other, but something about one of them. Or both of them have to be what?
What is more reliable?
Strong.
And they both have to be reliable. One is more reliable. So the شاذ انفراد الراوي الثقة بمن هو أوثق منه عددا أو ثقة. طيب, the shadh is when a reliable, pay attention there, a reliable narrator opposes someone who's more reliable. Our memorizer, Omar is different with Muhammad. طيب, Omar is more reliable, but they both have to be reliable. That's shadh. طيب, munkar is the opposite. Let's see who's paying attention. The shadh, they both reliable. And the munkar, one of them is weak, not reliable. Right? So in the shadh, you're going to write مخالفة الراوي ضعيف لمن أوثق منه. So the munkar, second meaning of munkar, we said the first one was an hadith that has one narrator, like gharib, like ahad, like farud. طيب. The second meaning of munkar is the opposition of a weak narrator, opposing a reliable narrator. Munkar, مخالفة الراوي الضعيف, the opposition from a weak narrator, opposing someone that is reliable. الإشكال في المنكر, the issue of the munkar يا إخوان, العلماء يختلفون في معنى. Why is munkar so difficult? Because the scholars differ over its meaning. بعض العلماء من المحدثين يقولون أن المنكر انفراد الراوي مطلقا. Why is munkar so hard to identify? Because the scholars identify it in one of two ways. The first way makes it tricky. Some scholars say munkar is any hadith that has one narrator, whether if he's reliable or weak. There's one narrator in the chain, is one. This is munkar. That's the first way. And the second way is the more popular way, that is the opposition of a single weak narrator. So if two narrators oppose each other, and one is weak, he is munkar, according to the second definition. If two narrators oppose each other, one is reliable, one is weak. Two narrators oppose each other. They both are reliable. One is more reliable, that's shadh. So the only difference is the one that's making the infirad, the one that is alone, his condition. إذا يكون ثقة فهو الشاذ. إذا يكون ضعيفا هو المنكر. If the one, the whole class says the brother stood up for class, and then our shaykh is alone, she comes and say no, he sat down. The whole group, they outnumber her, so she will be shadh if she's reliable. Right? Same example. We won't say our group here. Another group comes. Half the group, or 99% of the group says, the brother stood up. One person comes and say, hey, he sat down. If he's weak, he's munkar. So the only difference is his hal, his condition. If he's weak and he's opposing those who are reliable, he is munkar. So you're going to write the opposition of a weak narrator. هذا الفرق بين المنكر والشاذ حال الراوي. The difference between munkar and shadh, one difference. The condition of the narrator who's by himself. If he's reliable, shadh. If he's weak, munkar. The tricky part is some scholars call both of them munkar. That's the tricky part there. Because hadith, in the istilah of the hadith, the qasam of the hadith, there are many ijtihadiyat of some scholars, where they may differ from scholar to scholar. Not every scholar accepts everything the next scholar accepts. To Shafi'i, if the narrators were all reliable, the hadith is authentic. To Shafi'i, if they're truthful, if they're truthful, and he's narrating from him, from her, and they're all reliable, Shafi'i accepts. Bukhari says, la, hada ghamud. That's too vague. That's too vague. He says he wants to make sure he set and met him. He lived in his time. They met each other. So Bukhari is more ashad. He's more strict. He's more strict. So, bil-ikhtisar, هذا المنكر. So in summary, in 5 minutes, we did munkar. Man yashrah, who can explain munkar? Two possibilities of the word munkar.
Hadith that has a single narrator.
First possibility, any hadith has one narrator. Just like gharib, just like ahad, just like farud. Same meaning. You're not talking about the condition of the narrator. La. You're talking about the number. Second possibility?
And the acquisition of a single weak narrator.
Accent. Now you're describing his condition. Mukhalafatu ar-rabit da'if. When a weak narrator opposes those who are reliable. His narration is weak. Or his narration is called munkar. When you read in the hadith books and they say, Hadha al-hadith munkar. This hadith is munkar. There's a man in the chain who is weak, and his wording contradicts, opposes those who are reliable. Man la yafham, who doesn't understand, ya ikhwan? Kulukum fahimun, you all understand? طيب عندنا بقية أو باق درسان إن شاء الله تعالى نكمل هذا إن شاء الله في بعد أسبوع. Next week إن شاء الله we can complete our book. We only have two last categories left. Matruk and mawdu'. When the hadith is abandoned because there's a liar or fabricator or many other weaknesses, or the hadith is mawdu', the man in the chain is known to make up hadith. He just lies and fabricates hadith. Many of the hadith of the Shia are mawdu'at. Many of their hadith, you say, where's the hadith at? They say, no, we have them, it's with us. It's with us. You say, what book? Where's the book? No, it's our book. What's the name of the book? No, it's our book. That's many of their books. Many of those hadith, they lie. We love hadith. There's no need to lie. They go overboard. And they lie, and they fabricate. You say, where's these chains at? No, they're with us. That's all you need to know. They're with us. As one brother, he said to me one time, see, you studied the hadith that are in the books. You said, tell you, where else are they? He said, no, there are hadith everywhere. He said, you got hadith that's not in the books? He said, yeah. He said, where are they? How'd you get them? He said, it was narrated to us. And they didn't pass by Bukhari and Muslim and Tirmidhi and Muwatta and Malik and Al-Bayhaqi. They didn't pass by them. It skipped over the second generation, third generation, sixth generation. He said, I don't know what happened, but we got them. So you have to be careful people fabricate. That's why this science is so important. The way we narrate hadith nowadays, the people of the past didn't narrate hadith like that. And that's how Islam, one of the ways Islam was preserved. You had to mention your men. Now anybody can come and say anything. Anybody can come and say, the Prophet of Allah said. You need knowledge of hadith to identify if the hadith is weak or not. You need hadith. Anybody can come and say, hey, the Prophet said, the Prophet said, the Prophet said, the Prophet said. If you don't know, you're at the mercy of the person. You don't know. That's why this science is so important. It helps you preserve the authentic min as-saqim, the sahih from the da'if. You can identify, differentiate between what's authentic and what's not. So they would mention the chain to preserve the hadith. طيب, so we'll stop there, ikhwan. فَنَصَبْتُ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ وَإِنْ أَخْطَأْتُ فَمِنْ نَفْسِي. Anything that we said that's correct is from Allah. Anything we said that's incorrect is from ourselves. And may Allah bless you all. وَسُبْحَانَكَ اللَّهُمَّ وَبِحَمْدِكَ أَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ أَسْتَغْفِرُكَ وَأَتُوبُ إِلَيْكَ. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. وإياكم. Keep up the good work, ya ikhwan. May Allah bless you all. May Allah bless you all. آمين يا ماسي. اللهم آمين وإياكم. والمنكر الفرض ما قيدته بثقة. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
The moment I was gonna